Hi, I'm Jae Gruenke, founder of The Balanced Runner, and today I have a running form analysis of the top 4 men in the 2024 Berlin Marathon. I had a videographer on the course, so we have slow motion footage to work with as well as the broadcast footage, and I am excited to show you the indicators that Kotut was not going to beat Mengesha just before the end of the race. Let's have a look. All right, so now let's take a look at Milkesa Mengesha, who won. So he's the guy in the green vest, and you can see his arms are quite low, and the direction of his arm swing, the way he's moving his whole torso is really different from the other men in the lead pack here. So pausing and going back a bit to take a look at that again, even in this still shot, you can see there's Kiprop immediately to his left, to the right in our view, running very differently. Most of the men bring their hands a lot higher at this point in the race. Now this is going to change. Mengesha is going to change his arm swing more than people usually do as the race progresses. But the fact that he's moving his torso differently than the other men in the race is consistent all the way through. And so you can see how much his pelvis moves relative to the others. Again, there's always an issue of who's wearing what and how easy is it to see. But there's quite a lot of swishing and movement, and we'll see that in my slow motion footage in a moment as well. What this also means is very interesting. His counter rotation happens a little bit lower in his spine than it does for the other guys. So more around really the bottom of his ribs than higher up. And we'll see that again in other footage. So here again, you can see from later in the race that it's lower, almost close to his waistband, into his lower back, that he's twisting compared to the other guys. You can see him in the green on the far side, and you can see again quite low into his waist, he counter rotates. So you'll also see here that he's got quite a significant forward trunk inclination, and his upper back is very different from the guy in purple just in front of him. That guy is Cybrian Kotut, who will go on to place second in the race. And that is a difference that is going to magnify as the race progresses and perhaps determine the outcome, or perhaps just be an indicator of why the outcome was what it was. So again, Mengesha on the right here, and you can see his head does not move right to left very much, a little bit, not a lot. And one of the things that happens with a very significant rotation, so he's a very twisty runner, you could say, a lot of rotation, counter rotation in his form. And when that happens, when someone runs like that, then they don't have a lot of lateral flexion, side-to-side movement. And when you don't have a lot of lateral flexion, then your weight stays more or less in the middle, and then your feet need to come under your weight. And so we can see, going back a little bit, how that works with Mengesha. Here you can see his feet falling almost in a line right under his head. So very typical footstrike for this kind of running form. And yet, when the pelvis moves that much, running is so much easier, that this is working very well for him. So now take a look at Kotut in the purple, all the way on the left there. The commentators called out his wide arm swing. That is just one feature of his form. But the interesting thing is that he didn't have a wide arm swing, his elbows sticking out, especially his left one like that, earlier in the race. It just appeared at the end. So let's go and unpack this a bit. So here again is that slow motion footage. Look at the difference between Kotut's upper back and Mengesha's. So that's what it looked like at about 39K. But their elbows sticking out about equal amounts at that point. So now later in the race, again in the broadcast footage, you see that same contrast. Look at the difference in their heads. But still, if you look at how wide Kotut's elbows are compared to, say, Kiprop's or Mengesha's, not a big difference. Maybe a little wider, looking at them from the back. Here you see Kotut's arms are yet wider. They're creeping out the closer he gets to the finish line, and his mouth is wider open in each of these clips. And so here, take a look at that left elbow. So it's, again, more the left than the right, but wider and wider. And now his upper back looks almost concave. And again, his mouth wider open and jaw pushing forward. And so what I'm pointing at here is I think that as we get to the end of the race, as he gets tired, as he's trying to beat Mengesha, he is getting he needs more and more oxygen, and he's having trouble getting it. He's stuck in a bad feedback loop where the more tired he gets, the more air he wants, and the more he lifts his chest and pulls his head back and pushes his jaw forward to get it. And when you lift your chest and activate your back muscles like that, one of the effects, and this is most harmful when it happens running downhill, one of the effects is that your elbows go out to the sides and your legs come more in front of you, or in this case, it just shortens Kotut's stride length. Now look at the difference in them from the front. You can see how much Kotut is lifting his chest, how wide his arms are. And although we don't have a side view at this moment, it's easy to feel that his upper body is more upright than Mengesha's. And again, you can see from the back here, Mengesha's upper body is stretching out a little bit. He's a little less rounded in the upper back. And so now Mengesha looks like he's just letting go, and Kotut looks like he is absolutely fighting his body, trying to catch up. And that's not a strategy that's ever going to work. Even if you don't have the energy to get in a zone where you're actually fighting the way your body is supposed to work in running, is only ever going to slow you down. Again, that really concave upper back. So again, this is a really long stride. You can still see that it's pretty low in the torso, that Mengesha is counter-rotating, but it's just a really long stride he's got. And then look at Kotut behind him. He's pumping as hard as he can with his arms. His gait has gotten quite wide. And in a moment, we'll be able to make more of a side-by-side comparison. And when they come to the finish line, it'll become clear why Kotut's left arm is going out to the side. So, just always great to watch that moment of winning the race. And this moment of truth, so Mengesha, like Katema, comes down forward, was really using his quads. And Kotut, you can see it's his right leg is really not working right. Upper leg internally rotated, he's staggering to the right. And so he was compensating for that by putting his left arm out, trying to get more weight to the left. But as most compensations do, it was tipping him more to the right, backfiring completely. So now let's take a look at Hymanot Alew, who came in second. He's in the white and orange. You can see how wide his gait is. It's so unusual to see a gait that wide. His arms are in close, but again, if we just pause and go back, even with the still shot, you can see his elbows are in pretty close. His body type has just got a really, really wide, large rib cage, and that is playing a role in how he organizes his running. So just taking a quick look again, you can see he's on the outsides of his feet, also interesting. Look again at Alew as soon as that motorcycle's out of the way, he's near us. And so here's how his gait is working. You can see he's got especially with his left leg, he's got a real kick forward with his foot. But I'm gonna pause that and come back here because he does something really, truly the opposite of Mengesha in how he uses his pelvis. Even though the pelvis is big and it's in the middle, it can be sort of hard to see. But take a look. So right around Alew's shirt tails, at the motion, he's about to land on his left foot. It's going to be easier for us to see as he lands on his right. So there's the touchdown, and you can see, you'll be able to see in a moment the right side of his body load, like compress a bit. That phase is really quick for him, and he moves his pelvis quite rapidly. See there, you can see the knee bends, the whole body compresses, the hip is driven up slightly. That's easier to see from the front. He's just passing mid-stance, so his right hip is just passing his foot, and his head is starting to go up in the air again. And look at the movement that the right side of his pelvis makes. It moved backwards just slightly, so from here to here, you can see it move backwards just a little bit, as though to stay with the foot, but that was what? 2 frames. And then there's a forward and downward push with that side of his pelvis to turn his pelvis the same direction as his upper body. So I might have slowed that down so much that it's actually more difficult to see. So let's just go back and play that at the speed that this usually happens. So there's that moment where there's a push from that side of the pelvis. And you can see his pelvis turns towards the forward swinging leg, towards the forward swinging leg. If we go back and take a look at Mengesha instead. So here again, you just have to, unfortunately we don't have an unobstructed view, but it's good enough. And you look at his right hip, it is gonna move backwards a lot longer before it does that push forwards. So again, it doesn't matter so much that you can't see his leg clearly. So it's almost tough to differentiate the movement of Alew's pelvis from the rest of his torso. Whereas it's very easy to see that counter rotation with Mengesha because it goes on so much longer. So that from the side, you can really see his pelvis turn. So again, if we just let it play through backwards, yep, it goes backwards for a while before there's that forwards and downwards push. All right, so now we can take a look at Alew coming in towards the finish line to come in third. And you could see there, if we go back again, how very wide his gait is. At this point, he seems to be running really just entirely on the outsides of his feet. That's not necessarily connected to the way that he's using his pelvis. In fact, that way of using his pelvis more often helps a person get to their big toes for toe off, but that's not happening here. So that is not connected. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure why he's so much on the outsides of his feet. You can see that Alew's head does not go very much side to side again. So that just makes it impossible to move from outside to inside of your feet and use the whole width of your feet, the lateral movement on your feet, the way that you should be, the way that it loads your arch and then uses your big toes. Again, more often when a runner doesn't shift their weight very much side to side, they do what Mengesha does, which is bring the feet to the middle. But Alew, and this maybe is why the outsides of his legs are work so hard and are so developed, is that I think he's just using strength on the sides of his body and especially his hips and his legs to support him with his weight in the middle that's never coming fully over either leg in his running. So that's my theory. We can just watch him come through again, because as soon as he crosses the line, you can see he's forward on his feet, but also on the outsides. And now let's finish up here by taking a look at Cybrian Kiprop, who came in fourth. You can see him in front here. I just found him so interesting to look at because he's perhaps the only runner in the men's field who's really using his big toes well. His feet and legs are so well organized, but his right arm falls quite short. His right hand falls quite short of his midline. And there was a lot of talk in the race commentary about the really bad knee injury that he'd had. I'm assuming this is his his right knee. And so you can see the trace of it. Right arm and right shoulder that don't come forward enough will cause the right leg to swing too far forward and not go far enough behind, and tend to really stress the right rectus femoris, quadricep, and the patellar tendon. And so you see it a lot in runner's knee on the right leg. Again, I don't know the story. Apparently he split his kneecap in two, so that sounds like more of an accident. I don't know anything more about that injury, but still, when the knee hurts, then you're going to try to not load it fully, and you get this sort of pattern. It's really easy to do on the right side. And so for much of the race, it looked like both hands were falling short of the midline, but it's really mostly his right that chops the stride short on the right side. So let's look at him again in my slow motion footage, and you'll see him in the back of this group. And you can see anything that you do to keep your arms from swinging to midline is going to interfere with your ability to lean forward. And you can see that he was leaning less than the other two taller men, not Alew. And just look at his stride length compared to, say, Mengesha. So that's about the max hip angle for Kiprop in the back there. So you can have a look what that looks like. Mengesha is not quite at that point in his gait cycle, so we'll go forward a little bit more. We're just eyeballing this, but eyeballing is good enough in this case. You can see that Mengesha is getting a much longer stride if we look at the thighs. And so that's entirely a product of the amount of rotation that Mengesha is using versus the stopping things short in the upper body, which has a knock-on effect on the pelvis, and then you don't get as long a stride length that we're seeing with Kiprop. It sounds like he's come back very much against the odds, so I hope that this was a good start back for him, and he's continued to be able to perform well, and maybe to sort this out about his upper body so that he can use his right leg more fully. Early on in the race, it was also visible that he was bending his right wrist inwards, which is another way to keep yourself from loading that side. So that seemed to fade later in the race, and again, hopefully this is a positive sign for him. There's a lot in there. However you may be running, there's probably someone in the elite field that I just discussed that has some form similarities to you. And hopefully this video has given you an idea of some adjustments that you can make in your form to bring things that are out of balance into balance for better performance and so that you feel better. So I've put a link to my free 1-week Mind Your Running challenge in the description below. So just click more and you'll be able to see it and sign up for it. It's a 10-minute lesson a day for a week, and it'll help you go through all the aspects of running form and begin to feel how to pull into alignment, into balance, any elements of your form that are out of balance. So please take the opportunity to sign up and do that. Also, I've put links to playlists below on the runner's arm swing and the runner's core so that you can delve more into some of the things that I discussed in the videos here and how they work. And please take a moment, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Share this video with your running friends. Thanks so much, and may all your running dreams come true.